Hello everybody, Suzanne Keller-Singh from Dawning Visions Hypnosis and Reclaim Your Practice in Your Life. And today we're going to actually do a process, a really easy process for most people, to let go of some of those feelings that aren't helping you very much. In fact, they're probably getting in the way of, well, having a really good quality of life. So that you can have an experience of what it is to do the work that I do. So perhaps you might see the efficacy of learning how to do this stuff yourself in a way that truly helps your patients let go of their previous life's traumas. So we're going to begin this process. It's called timeline therapy. Tad James created it back in the 80s. And it is not the same as walking the timeline, which the National Guild of Hypnotists folks teach. In fact, I don't even have any idea what walking the timeline is. I can't make any sense of it, and we won't go there. However, timeline therapy is based on the idea that we all have a timeline. And the way that we know we have a timeline is because that's the way our memories are sorted on a timeline. And each of our timelines may be a little bit different. Most of us have it either straight in front of us, or we have it going through us front to back. But people can have them in all different various locales, and it really doesn't matter because everyone is different. So the first questions that we would normally ask a client would be, how did you know that you woke up this morning and knew that you were you without looking in the mirror? And a lot of people take time to think about it, and they come up with all kinds of interesting things, but ultimately they come back to something that might resemble knowing that it was their room, knowing that they're wearing their own pajamas, knowing how they feel, memory of who they are. So then we have them go through a procedure to learn how to do the spatial placements they need in order to do timeline therapy. So I'm going to ask you to play with me by sitting in a safe place, or you can be relaxed, but you're only doing really neurolinguistic programming. It's not deep hypnosis by any stretch of the imagination, so sitting is just fine. And you're just going to follow along as I explain to you how you go about finding these perceptual positions. But the first thing I need you to do is to elicit your timeline. So the way that you do this is you allow yourself to think of a memory that was fun and or exciting sometime in your past. Could have been 10 minutes ago or many years ago. It doesn't matter. Just think of the event, a happy, fun event in the past, and then take the finger and the hand in which you write and point in the direction from where that comes. It's an ideomotor, meaning subconscious response to just let it go wherever it wants to go. There are only correct answers in this little exercise. Do that now. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about a happy, fun time that you're looking forward to having in your future. Again, it doesn't matter specifically when in the future, just whatever pops up automatically. And allow your finger to point in the direction from where that future event is coming from. Great. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take those 2 points and connect them, and that is your timeline. Now, I'd like you to close your eyes. It's easier to do this with your eyes closed. And I'd like you to float above your timeline however you do float. You could see yourself floating. You might feel yourself floating. However you do float, F-L-O-A-T, and that is what I would like you to do. Float above your timeline, all the way into the past, to that very first event that you found, the happy time in your past. what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and float a little bit further above your timeline, a little bit further back. Doesn't matter how far, in either direction, just so you know you can do it. And I'd like you to float over now and go into the future to that other point that you had found in your future, the happy, positive event you're looking forward to in the future. And I'd like you to float into now. Wonderful. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to have you think of a time when you were upset by something. Somebody did something, said something, and it didn't leave you in a very good state of mind. The first question you're going to ask yourself is, what is the negative emotion you're feeling? It could be anger, sadness, fear, guilt, shame. Feeling unworthy, doesn't really matter what it is, just so that you know what it is. So now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to go back and ask yourself, the very first time that you ever experienced this particular emotion, was it before, during, or after your birth? It could be genealogical in that it might have been somebody who you were raised by or spent a lot of time with, and they showed a lot of those emotional tendencies. Or it could be a past life. And I don't really care if your conscious mind believes in past lives or not, because we all know in the hypnotic world anyway that it's your unconscious mind that drives you anyway, and what it believes is what happens. So, either way. And if you were to know how many generations or past lives or what age were you when this happened, the very first time, the negative emotion that you're working on. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and float above your timeline and go about 15 minutes before the event, looking at the event, looking toward now, and just notice the event. You might get a feeling about it first. You might visually see it. You might hear something. However you're able to bring in the information is perfect. And give yourself a little time to allow it to come up. This is a brand new technique for most of you, so give yourself a little time to bring it in. All right, great. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go directly up above that event and get yourself a positive learnings or learning. Some people get one, some get several. In regards to this event, and a positive learning is something that you learn that allows you to feel better as a result of the learning. So if you're still feeling crappy, that's not a positive learning. You need to feel better for that learning. So go ahead and grab your positive learnings right now. I'll give you some time to process this. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go about 15 minutes before the event and notice if there's any negative emotion, whichever emotion you're working on, or if it's disappeared now. You're going to remember the event. It's just going to be that there won't be any emotions tied to it any longer. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to come all the way back to now, only as quickly as you can. Get your positive learnings on each of the events that's attached to that negative emotion all the way up to now. You need to take your time to get those positive learnings. And you're going to notice that there's some themes, themes, themes that come up as you're getting those positive learnings. Take note of those themes as you're letting go of the negative emotions on these events. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, great. Now what I'd like you to do, so I'd like you to notice your feet. That's right, just notice your feet. Take a deep breath in, exhale. I'd like you to go into the past to a time when you were feeling that same negative emotion and notice a new response. A response that is a lot healthier for you than the previous response you used to have. Go take note of that new response back there in the past. Great. Now, I'd like you to think of a negative event based on that same negative emotion that could happen again in the future, and go get a healthier, better response out there in the future. Go do that now. Okay, great. Go ahead and open your eyes and come back and notice how much better you're feeling. And do you sincerely hope you got something really great from this little exercise, because this is something I do with my clients regularly, and it really does work very quickly and effectively. As always, I thank you for spending your time with me. Till next time. Bye-bye all.